Hi, my name's Jack, a designer and video maker living in London, and this is my first video for the new year, so Happy New Year to everyone. I hope it's a fun and safe and productive year for everyone watching this video. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the different apps that I use to organise my life. So going into this new year, I'm trying to be extremely busy and productive. I'm currently working a full-time job, studying part-time, and also trying to make as many YouTube videos as possible, meaning for me it's really important to be able to organise my time and everything that I need to do as efficiently as possible. So I use a few different applications and services to do this. I'm sure you'll have heard of most of them, but I'm going to show you how I've got each of them set up, show you some small tips and tricks for how you can make the most of these different services, and hopefully you'll find some of that useful. If you do find this video useful, I'd appreciate if you click the thumbs up button and also subscribe. It means you get to see all of my new videos when they're released, and it really helps me out. Let's take a look at some apps. The first application I'm going to be talking about is actually more of a service. It's one you'll definitely be familiar with, and that's Google Calendar. I personally think that if you organise your calendar correctly, it's the most powerful productivity tool you can use. So taking a look at the way I've set mine up, I have recurring events for things that I do every single week, or even every single day as it happens with things like work. So I have my morning hours and my afternoon hours. I have them separated out just so I make sure I take a lunch every day. Depending on the different meetings or calls or tasks I have to do at work, I will move this around. So for example, today I took an earlier lunch than I would usually. So around my work hours, I add the other things I want to do. So for example, this morning I went for a run. I generally colour kind of exercise and that kind of thing in blue. I'm going to try and force myself to do a workout tomorrow morning, but we'll see how well that goes. Other colour codes I have, you can see that my work is in this kind of teal green. Anything YouTube related is in red, and anything related to my university studies is coloured in orange. I also mark kind of other projects just in purple. This varies what kind of thing this may be. So for example here, I've just got work on my portfolio, but if I'm making a website or a design or anything for someone else, then I'd probably just put it in this purple tag, as I rarely work on more than one of these kind of projects at a time. I also have a tag just for like social events. This is coloured dark blue. This is a shared tag, or like a shared calendar with my girlfriend, so you can see there's some events that she has in there. This is just generally in normal life when we're not under like pandemic restrictions. A lot of our social plans are the same thing, so we just share it across the two calendars. And we find that super useful because it means like if we make a dinner reservation or something like that, it's just instantly in both of our calendars if one of us books it. Another thing that I've done with these tags is that I've corresponded the colour codes of these different types of events with the other apps I use. So for example, in my to-do list app, all YouTube tasks and things that I need to do are in red, the same with work, the same with my studies, and so on. Although it seems I'm very OCD with how this is organised, which I'll admit I definitely am, I don't completely stick to this schedule. It's more of a guideline for how ideally I want to organise what I'm doing. So I think I've talked about Google Calendar long enough, so let's move on to the next application, and that is one that's very popular on YouTube, Notion. So it was actually being a bit slow for me before I recorded this video, so hopefully it's okay now. I'm not like a Notion power user or anything like that. Some of the crazy Notion setups you see on YouTube are really impressive. I've only been using it for a few months, so I'm still trying to kind of find the best way for it to work for me. If you haven't heard of Notion, it's basically a really powerful note-taking and productivity app. It's got lots of features such as a Kanban board, which you can see here. And you can also do cool things with like databases and linking them to add extra functionality to your different pages. You can also share these pages with different people, making it kind of an all-in-one productivity tool for a team if you'd like. So I'm just going to show you kind of the different pages and stuff I have set up on Notion. You see here I have a to-do list. This isn't actually my to-do list. I used to use Notion, but I found the UI of it for a to-do list wasn't as convenient as the app I'll be talking about later. So this is just kind of my old to-do list. This hasn't been updated in a while. This is within kind of the personal section of my Notion. So underneath to-do list, I have a meal planner. I only really use this meal planner just to know what I need to buy when I go shopping. Also, when I'm kind of planning what I'm going to eat for that week, I like being able to see all the different meals so I can make sure I'm kind of getting a balanced range of food for that week just to stay healthy and stuff. Apparently that's important. And yeah, this isn't really something I look at a lot. It's kind of something I look at once a week just to plan out my meals, and then I'm done with it. Then I have hobby ideas. That's not really something that's super productive. It's basically if I hear about a hobby or see something, I'll just note it down in there. And then maybe if I'm bored, I'll just kind of refer to it. Productivity and something. Where's that? Productivity and goals. So in here I have different goals that I've set out for kind of the next year, next 5 years, next 10 years, long-term goals. A lot of this stuff is just kind of dreaming and bucket list stuff, just kind of what I want to do over time. But it was really useful for kind of setting resolutions and goals for this year, because I could take some things from these other lists and move them into the list of goals for this year. I can also look back at previous year's goals. So this was my goals for before 2021. So basically my 2020 goals, which hopefully if I keep up doing that over time, I can look back at the different things I've accomplished each year, which should be quite interesting. Then I have just a stuff to check out. This is where I list off different things. Most of these are kind of just to do with design and development and different softwares. If someone at work mentions something or I hear about something in a video, then I'll just add it to this list with a link, and hopefully I'll come back to it at a later date. To be honest, that very rarely happens, but you know, it's the thought that counts. Then I have YouTube. This is the main place where I kind of track everything that I want to do with my YouTube channel. I copied this specific layout from pretty much every YouTuber. They seem to use kind of this Kanban board style with like ideas, writing in progress, ready to film, filming, filmed, edited, ready to publish, and published. To be honest, this probably isn't the best way to do things for my current workflow, as it's just me making videos on my channel and I only really make one video at a time. Then I don't need to have all these different boards, because generally what happens is I take a video from ideas into writing, I write it, then I film it, and by the time I've kind of edited and published it, I've forgotten that I even need to update the Kanban board, so then I'll just end up taking it from like ready to film to published. But despite that, it does have some advantages of using it. Mainly if I'm not sure what I want to make a video on, I have this list of ideas that I can just refer to, and if I have any new ideas, I can just add it to the bottom. Also, each of these are kind of individual pages, so inside each of these there's all my notes for the different videos. So my recent video about Adobe XD, Sketch and Figma has all the notes for the different sections, so I'll have that open on the side and I'll refer to that throughout the video. I also have a brand guidelines page. This is kind of just something fun I did while I was trying to think of like how I wanted to brand the channel. It just has the different hex codes and the different fonts that I use. The next is the studies section. This is the main reason I use Notion, just because it's great for keeping notes and tracking your different studies. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I am a part-time student. So here you can see I've got it organized. So I've got links to the PDFs for the different course documents. Then I just have like a general notes section. Then below that I have modules. So far I've only started one module. So inside here you can see all the different class notes I've had for each week. If we go inside one of these, for example, version control, there's not a ton of notes, it's just like the different things I want to keep track of, and that's the same in each of these. Then after studies, I've got travel planner. Unfortunately, this is something that's not being used a ton at the moment. So at the top, I've just got upcoming travel dates. Unfortunately, it's unlikely that I'll actually be able to go on those holidays just due to the current restrictions. So the way I kind of organise different travels, if we go to a previous holiday that I've done, I was really lucky this summer to be able to go away to Croatia. So I've got all the different kind of parts of traveling, so the different accommodation, the different travels, how much different things are going to cost in the kind of localized currency. And I think if you're planning a trip, especially if you're going to be staying at different places, this is a really great way of doing it. And having everything in one place can just be a massive lifesaver if things don't go to plan. So that's everything I've got on Notion. The final application I'll be talking about is Todoist. So this is my favorite to-do list app. Over the years, I've used so many different to-do list apps. My old favorite was definitely Wunderlist, but then unfortunately Microsoft bought it and basically killed the app and replaced it with their own app, which wasn't that great, unfortunately. Todoist, though, is very similar to what Wunderlist used to be like, but it's slightly more modern. It has a few extra features that are all really good. So as you can see here on the left, I have my different projects. I have general, work, master's course, which is basically my studies, projects, YouTube, and shopping list, because I'll just throw in kind of my food items that I need to buy each week in here. The different colours, as you can see, match those that were in the calendar. This was only a recent change that I made. but I think it makes a lot more sense than just having random colours. So most of the time I'll just end up looking at the today view and see what I've scheduled in for that day. Probably my favourite thing about Todoist is subtasks. So you can see here it says 0 out of 4. If I click in here, then it's got the different subtasks, and you can actually kind of nest them. So within a subtask you can put more subtasks, if that makes sense. So within creating a new portfolio, I've put add project, and then within project I've got all the different kind of projects that I want to add to my portfolio that I've worked on. I find this really useful because it really clears up your different lists. If I didn't have that feature, I'd probably have individual to-do items for each of the projects that I wanted to add, but instead I just have create new portfolio. I can see the status of how that's going here, and then when I click into it I can look at all the individual subtasks that I need to do. Other cool things you can do with Todoist are Kanban boards, which are basically the same as what I showed in Notion, so you can have the different columns for the different statuses of that specific task or project. You can also break up different lists into sections, so in general I could have whatever, section 1 and section 2, and then I can have like individual tasks in each of these. You can also toggle these open and shut, so if you have a lot of different sections or a lot of different tasks, you can close them, you can organize them. It's extremely powerful, it's extremely easy to use, and as of right now I don't think there is a better to-do list app out there. So those are the apps that I use to organise my life. I feel like it was a bit of a rambly video. If you did enjoy this video or find it useful, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe. Follow me at JenkinsYT on Twitter and Instagram. And other than that, hopefully see you in the next one.